Hey everyone, welcome to the Wrestling Experience.
Where we can safely say we're going to talk about the best episode of SmackDown in 2021.
Or possibly the worst. You choose.
It could be both. I mean, technically it is both.
I mean, on the spectrum, where would you classify this SmackDown episode? A
I mean, it
little
was
bit at the middle?
somewhere in the middle, but a little bit better leaning toward the positive. It wasn't horrible.
No.
I kind of enjoyed most of the segments. So
Absolutely, same here. So we're going to jump right in, but before, I'm Jess.
I'm Johnny.
And we're the Wrestling Experience. If you do like our stuff, please make sure to like our video and subscribe. It goes a long way. So Roman kicks out SmackDown. He's out with Heyman and Jey Uso. He talks about 2020 being a very tough year, but when you're the head of the table, you make it work, right? And he asked Jey Uso, and I actually really like this. He's like, why do you think I wear the gold glove? Because everything I touch turns into greatness. Again, like a little very subtle thing, because if you remember in an interview, Roman did say that like his theme song was going to change, a lot of things was going to change, but it was going to be gradual and it was going to mean something. So then the first time he wore the gold glove, I was like, why is he wearing that? And now it all makes sense, right? So I thought it was a really, really good promo from Roman.
Yeah, I mean, when I first noticed the golden glove, I was like a little like, what's going on? That's not what I'm used to seeing. But I do like that it ties into his gimmick and everything. So he continues to talk about how everything he touches is gold, right? Mm-hmm. He pulled Paul Heyman out of obscurity after he was abandoned. He basically saved Paul and calls him the most genuine and honest man he's ever done business with, which is interesting. He talks about his cousin Jey, who was a prime example of what Roman can do. I mean, nobody knew who he was. They were asking, which Uso are you? But all of a sudden, once Jey Uso acknowledged Roman as the tribal chief, what happened? He had the best year of his career. He was main event Uso.
Yeah, essentially. And yeah, like, but I did like that one line where it's like, this man can't miss now because he acknowledged me as his tribal chief. I thought that was pretty powerful. And this is where Kevin Owens' music hits, and he cuts him off. And Roman's like, what are you doing here? You know, I gave you your 50 minutes of fame. I don't want to hear it. You're like a roach, and you know you won't die. You had your time in the sun. You experienced the island of relevancy. I hope you gave your wife and your kids a good Christmas because of the paycheck you got because of me. Dude, it was just so good. Roman Reigns is the best thing that in the wrestling business right now.
Yeah, that was pretty hilarious. I'm sure someone's gonna make an out of context clip of him saying like, "What are you still doing here?" and make memes out of it for sure somewhere down the line, because that was funny. Yeah. And then Kevin Owens is obviously saying that that Roman and his family have failed because he's still here. I think that Roman mentioned that he was embarrassed to still see him, but in fact, it should be them that they're embarrassed. Roman should be embarrassed because of what Jey Uso had to do to put Kevin Owens down in the steel cage match and the TLC match. And he says something quite interesting, like how it's clear that the big dog is no longer here, and he was replaced with something else.
Yeah, with a giant bitch. Say it.
Okay, well, you said it for me.
It was well really done. Good. It was a good line, too.
Oh, yeah, it was a clever line. But we're trying to be family-friendly, aren't we? No, I don't know. We don't know. But tonight, it's all about Jey Uso. Kevin Owens wants to make Jey Uso pay. And then when he's done with Jey Uso, the family will have nothing to celebrate.
Solid stuff. Again, a really, really good way of opening up SmackDown, opening up the year. It seems that it's going to be Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns at Royal Rumble, right? I think that's kind of fair to assume that at this point.
Yeah, I mean, clearly they're continuing the storyline, and you know, we know what happens later in the episode, so it totally makes sense, and I'm on board. Like I said many times, if this was the WrestleMania feud and Kevin Owens would finally win, I'd be on board with this.
Yeah, that would be great.
We're not sure if that's going to happen. Yeah. But now we have this Big E versus Baron Corbin match, which was kind of boring.
Can I just say one thing though? When they announced Big E versus Corbin, I'm like, of course he has the match against Corbin, right? Like it makes all the sense in the world. And
they probably were backstage. Were like, okay, we're gonna give him Corbin or Ziggler. Flip a coin.
Exactly.
But because Ziggler's in a storyline, we have to give him Corbin.
But Ziggler was still heard backstage saying it should have been me.
Yeah, he was.
So yeah, I do agree with you. I share the same sentiment, but I think that the reason why this match was a little slow was for what was going to happen next. Sami Zayn was on commentary. He did have a couple of great lines. Talking about how
the suit hoodies were out too.
Yeah, exactly. And Sami Zayn talked about how he didn't really have any time to prepare against Big E, and also the fact that it was like a lumberjack match. He also had to worry about the rest of the wrestlers. So there's a bit of mat wrestling from Big E to begin with, but Corbin is in control. And when Big E out of nowhere hits a big ending, that's where Sammy kind of interjects and he interferes in the match. Ref calls for the bell, and Sammy and the Knights of the Lone Wolf, as they're called, start beating down on Big E. And this is where Apollo Crews comes in for the save. And when we're back from the break, we have a tag team match all of a sudden.
Playa.
Yeah, and
I didn't like the way the match, the first part of the match ended, where like Corbin does his thing where he slides out of the ring from the corner, walks back in, runs right into a big ending. I thought it was just like, okay, interesting. Yeah. But yeah, we do have this tag match, which was a little bit better. But the story of the match was Sami Zayn kind of tagging in at opportune moments when Corbin was in control. He did it maybe 2 or 3 times. He also wanted to get the suit hoodies, or the Knights of the Lone Wolf, as they are actually known as, to kind of like follow his instructions as well as Corbin, but they're not listening to him at all. They only listen to Corbin, and this is causing some arguments between everyone. Apollo gets great offense. Big E does a little bit of stuff in this match, but he's found sleeping for most of it, I find. And this kind of all dissolves when Corbin's just like, okay, I'm fed up with this, and they leave Sammy alone, and then basically Apollo Crews is able to completely take out Sammy for the win.
Yeah, I mean, like, there was one moment, I guess, where you're right? Like, Corbin is in control, and Sammy kind of tags himself in. Corbin wasn't aware, and then when Sammy is about to hit the haluva kick on Apollo moves out of the way and actually hits Baron Corbin, and this is where they have a disagreement. And Baron Corbin's like, you know what, F this, I'm just gonna, we're out. And Apollo does hit him with a really, really nice sit-out powerbomb, and I thought it was okay. Honestly, like, it kind of makes sense, after what we're going to see backstage with Big E and Apollo, but I thought it was a decent match, I guess. I don't know. Yeah,
the kick was important to mention, and I forgot. So yeah, good point. That was the thing. That was what pushed Corbin over the edge and said, "Okay, I'm out."
Yeah.
So it looks like Sammy's going like slowly slipping out of the IC title picture for now. Maybe my fan fiction will come true one day.
Yeah, Who knows?
But Kevin Owens is backstage with Adam Pearce, and he really wants the match, but apparently Adam Pearce can't make the match because of Roman or Paul's influence. So he offers to give Kevin Owens a match with anyone he wants other than Jey Uso. So Kevin Owens says Roman Reigns, and obviously that's not going to fly either. But Kevin Owens kind of pleads to Adam Pearce, saying, "Give the fans what they want. That's what you're here for." And Adam Pearce agrees and gives him the match with Jey Uso for the main event.
Again, like, and it wasn't just, Kevin Owens pleading with Adam Pearce, but he's kind of firing him up, saying like, that's not the Adam Pearce I know. I've known this Adam Pearce for 15 years, blah blah blah. So he really lit a fire under his ass, and clearly Roman isn't going to be very happy. We'll find that out later, but we are going to jump to Big E and Crews, and Big E talks about how he appreciates his help. And it's really funny because Kayla wants to know what Big E has in store for 2021, and we see Apollo touch Big E's belt, and Big E's like, "Don't touch that." And this is where I'm like, you know what? I didn't like this promo because I'm not a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So he says, much like the 1967 Toronto Maple Leafs, he is a fighting champion and he is instauring an open challenge. Little do people know that the Toronto Maple Leafs have not won a single cup since 1967, but Apollo actually is very happy. He takes that challenge. They laugh it off, and it's official. It's going to be Apollo versus Big E, and I think that's going to be a really, really great match, and I'm looking forward to these open challenges once again.
Yeah, I did find this segment a little weird, though. Like, first of all, the 1967 Toronto Maple Leafs, like, why? Like, why bring that up? It's not like you're in Toronto or anything. I didn't really quite understand.
It was a Brody Lee thing because he was a big Toronto Maple Leafs fan.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense because, yeah, there's a lot of Brody Lee stuff throughout the show. There's armbands. Everyone's paying tribute to that. So that makes sense. That's good clarification. The only thing I also didn't like was, like, Kayla comes in while they're, like, talking to each other. And then, like, Apollo Crews, like, the camera focuses on Big E, so he's off. So I'm like, oh, yeah, they just chumped Apollo Crews. But then he comes back to say, like, oh, I accept your challenge. And, I did help you win last week by hand delivering you Sami Zayn. And then they kind of laugh because they both kind of want the title. Yeah, so it was a bit weird.
No, but I actually like that. I like the fact that he was taken out of the scene and then went back up, being like, hey, don't forget about me. I'm the reason why you are potentially champion. I thought it was well done. So we're going to move to our next match. We have the Riot Squad versus Natalya and Tamina. So Riot Squad.
How good is this?
Yeah,
because it's not Natalya versus Tamina. It's Billie Kay who comes out with Tamina, and then Natalya comes out, and all of a sudden you realize that it's not Billie Kay who's in this feud, who's not in this match, and she's the best part of this match, right? Because
it was so great. I remember at the beginning when she's asking for high fives, and everyone's just ignoring her.
How dare they ignore her?
Take my high five, Billie Kay.
She's cheering for her team initially, Natalya and Tamina. Mm-hmm. And I mean, in terms of match quality, this is kind of short. There's some cool stuff from Liv Morgan early on against Natalya. She had like a very, very interesting like pin. Tamina comes in. She's kind of dominant, but there's some good tag team action between the Riot Squad.
Yeah.
When the Riot Squad takes over, it's almost like Billie is starting to cheer for the Riot Squad all of a sudden. Tamina does fight out of a double team attempt, takes out Liv, then takes out Ruby, but Liv is right back to roll her up for the win, and now Billie's celebrating with the Riot Squad, and we're all kind of confused, but super entertained, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, same here. I mean, in terms of match quality, it is what it is. I feel like Liv Morgan is she just continues to improve, and that's really great to see. Tamina, I don't want to be mean, but how is it that she hasn't improved in the ring since ever? But the biggest thing was Billie Kay. I find that Billie Kay was really, really funny. She was really entertaining. She kept distracting both teams, and then she kind of jumped ship when the Riot Squad nailed Tamina with the double Russian leg sweep, and that's kind of where they turned the tables around. It was really, really great, and the Riot Squad, they win, and Billie Kay is celebrating. She's like, basically punching the air, and she's like celebrating, and but she's celebrating all by her lonesome. So I'm definitely enjoying this story.
Yeah, it's too bad that no one appreciates Billie Kay.
We
truly
appreciate
important.
her. We appreciate
That's
her.
That's true. And guess what? It's boss time, and there's a commercial.
And there's a commercial.
It's great.
Damn.
One thing I noticed though that I didn't know this, but like when they're doing the match card, when they're introducing her, and it says signature move bank statement, and I always thought it was the Banks statement, because she's Sasha Bank. But it makes sense that it would be a bank statement, and when you hear someone say it, it's either way it sounds the same. But that was kind of weird. Greg Hamilton botches too. He says something like the SmackDown Women's Champion. So that was pretty cool. And this is a tag team match player, right?
It is.
We got Bianca and Sasha with Carmella and Bayley. This basically the teams from last week. And Bianca is pretty strong at the beginning, right? She's like taking over. She seems like Bayley and Carmella can't really take her down. Sasha comes in and takes out Bayley with they do this really nice double team where Sasha like dives on Bayley on the outside, but she misses the Meteor, but then Bianca kind of gives her the assist back on the apron to hit it the second time, which was pretty cool. But then it's weird because after the commercial break, Bianca is in peril and she's kind of like being taken out by Bayley and Carmella.
Well, yeah, so what happened is that Bayley is in full control, right? And she's working on Bianca's arm, and she's really slowed the pace down. And this is where we're told by commentary that during the break, Carmella actually super kicked Bianca's elbow, which is why she was hurting. Bianca does kind of hit Bayley with a vertical suplex, and as she's about to make the tag, Carmella runs in, and she nails both Bianca and Sasha. Sasha does eventually, throughout the match, get the hot tag. She throws Carmella into the corner, and she hits her with a double knee, followed up with a Meteora, which I think it was a really great sequence. But now Sommelier comes in.
Reginald.
Exactly.
Like 3 times, right? 2 or 3 times.
But dude, that was some Cirque du Soleil stuff right there, man. Like he was doing some flippy stuff like I've never seen before.
Yo, but before that, like, how did he not get DQ'd by literally pulling Sasha out for like mid bank statement?
Yeah, but he didn't hit her. Yeah, I get. Yeah.
He made contact with her, but yeah, now they're on the apron arguing. He does like this. He gets off the apron in the most elegant way I've ever seen. Super, super impressive. Commentary was impressed, and obviously this Sasha must have been impressed because she walked right into like a nice face plant or X Factor from Carmella, who picks up the win.
That was a really beautiful looking, like modified like X Factor. Of course, Sasha sells it like death, but again, this was a really, really good match because these are 4 of the top women on SmackDown. Everyone was still protected. Like Bianca, yes, her elbow or her arm was being worked on and everything, but she still powered out. with a vertical suplex. She looked really strong. Sasha just makes everyone look really good. And Carmella getting a win on Sasha, Carmella pinning Sasha, means that I feel like there's going to be another match between them.
That has to be what we're going for. That has to be what's coming up next, right? So this might go into the Royal Rumble. Backstage, Roman Reigns is mad about the match, and he wants Paul to go figure it out because apparently someone doesn't appreciate all the work he does, and Paul has to find out who he is. Now, I don't know. Does he not know that it was Adam Pearce? Was he not watching the show? Maybe not. I don't know. But that's what happens. Street Profits enter the ring, and before we go to commercial, we see Sonya is walking backstage, which is super cool. And everyone's kind of like just looking at her, like confused, like
exactly.
I don't know, it was weird, but it was nice to see her back. Commentary acknowledged that, and now we have the Street Profits New Year's celebration, which, I mean, it was all right. I mean,
New Year's Smoketacular, as they called it.
The Smoketacular, and I'm like, I thought Dawkins was wearing a suit hoodie too. Could it be? Because he had like a blazer. Yeah. Can it be? Yeah. And so they're talking about their good year. They won the tag titles. They won Slammies. They have like a bunch of stuff in the ring that's under like a cloth, and they reveal a drum kit. So now they're going to do predictions for 2021, and Dawkins is on the drums doing like the drum rolls and some of the music playing here. And then they predict that their IC title shirt, which they gave to Sami Zayn last week, is going to be like a bestseller on the WWE shop. They predict that Dolph Ziggler will finally embrace his HBK gimmick and become the Heartache Kid.
I actually found that funny. I chuckled.
Which I'm like, okay, you got me this time. And you can see that they're going to talk about Rude next, but like they're just all of a sudden Rudolph are in the ring, and they're just kind of giving them the stare down, and then they just start beating them up. They take out Dawkins with the chair, toss him aside, and then they put fours between the ring post and attack his leg with the ring post and the chair.
Oh my, did they beat them up? Yeah, exactly. It was a brutal beatdown. Dawkins was kind of lucky. He only got thrown out, but
I know
Montez Ford got he got his butt kicked. Let's just put it that way.
They clearly had it more for Ford than they did for Dawkins. They kind of like gave him an easy out there. Yeah. It felt. And then backstage, they're celebrating, right? They're happy. You could see them walking backstage, and Kayla asks, "What was the reason for the unprovoked attack?" And I don't know. I think that they kind of make a good point here. Ziggler's like, what do you mean it's unprovoked? They've been provoking them for months with their HBK mustache insults, and it's always fun and games with them. Ruth comes in to say that. But everything that happened to them was on them. It's their fault. And the Aces, as they refer to themselves, the Aces, that they want their tag titles. They're dirty dogs as well, I think they mentioned. They could do what they want. And they basically demand a rematch, and they will not stop until they get it. So this is a feud that's getting quite heated.
I love Rudolph. I honestly, this segment just kind of, it didn't turn me around because I already respected them, and I like their how they are in the ring, but they made a lot of good points, man. Why is it that heels always make good points?
It's true though. The Street Profits were provoking them. They were making fun of them week in and week out, which I get it. It's their thing, but like this is one way to get a tag title opportunity. So I'll take it. It's gonna be a good feud. It has been a good feud.
Of course. So now we do have Daniel Bryan and Otis versus Cesaro and Nakamura. And you might be asking, how did this match come about, right? So,
they'll tell you.
Yeah, they'll tell you. Before the match, we see Daniel Bryan training for the Royal Rumble with Otis. He's trying to German suplex him, and it looks very sexual at the same time. They're thrusting their hips and everything like that. And Cesaro and Nakamura are just there. They're ringside, and they just stand, they just happen to be there. And they bully them, and voila. That's how you have your match. That the match is official because they ridicule Daniel Bryan and Otis.
Yeah, and they kind of say that like Daniel Bryan winning the Royal Rumble is not going to happen.
Man,
he has no chance to win.
They are choreographing this so hard.
I hope he wins, honestly.
But
I don't care if it's the most obvious thing. I want to see this happen. I don't think it will, though. I feel like it's just like there's no chance he's winning the Rumble.
But even throughout the match, they kept throwing Daniel Bryan over the ropes, and commentary was like, "Oh, well, there you go again. If Daniel Bryan was in the Royal Rumble, he would have been eliminated, and he hasn't won a Battle Royal. He hasn't won a Royal Rumble." It's crazy because it really that's how they're choreographing this thing so hard. And if Daniel Bryan wins, I think that would be great.
Yeah, if he wins, it'll be the most obvious, predictable thing because of the way they're like beating us over the head with it. But I don't mind. Like if this is how he wins the Royal Rumble, I'm on board. Like I'm down.
And the match
it
was
makes
really
sense.
good too, though. The match was great.
He's somewhat in the Roman Reigns storyline, but like somewhat not. Like he had his run-ins. Like he kind of never got one. He never kind of got his revenge for what happened with Roman and Jey. Even though he did pick up a win the week before on Jey, it's not really over. So it'll all come full circle, and I'm super down for it. But yeah, the match is actually pretty good.
Yeah, of course. Like again, we basically see the heels working on Daniel Bryan for the beginning of the match, right? They're painting the picture again, as we were talking with Daniel Bryan not winning the Royal Rumble and getting thrown off the ropes, like I think 2 or 3 times. Otis does get the eventual hot tag. He's cleaning house on Cesaro, and he's basically ragdolling Cesaro all over the ring. He actually nails Cesaro with the discus clothesline. And we see Chad is cheering him on. He hits him with a caterpillar. And then basically we have Bryan and Nakamura in the ring, and I think at this point Nakamura puts Daniel Bryan in an armbar, but Otis kind of comes in and breaks it up. Basically all that to happen, like all this is happening. Bryan nails Cesaro with the running knee. He basically knocks Cesaro out, and this is where Bryan puts Nakamura in the label lock for the win. So really, really good match, and I'm actually really enjoying this chemistry between Otis and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, this was a nice way to get Otis involved, even though the storyline was mostly focused on Bryan. Then Otis looked really strong. He got his offense in, but then he was quickly taken out by Nakamura, and he had to tag in for Bryan. So it was nice to see that. This Daniel Bryan Royal Rumble storyline is very good. I want to see it happen. I don't even care if you tell me in advance that he's going to win and he wins. I'm down. So
yeah,
there you go.
So before our main event, we do have one last backstage segment. Roman Reigns is in his locker room. Paul comes in and he says that it was Adam Pearce that made the decision. Roman Reigns is not happy. He tells Jey Uso, he's like, you know what? Show them why you are main event Uso. Only then will he learn. So, again, pretty effective. And we do have our main event. And it's an absolute brawl. Like, they open it up and, you know, Owens gets the upper hand. And he's stomping a mud hole on Jey. Like, shades of Stone Cold right there. The action gets taken outside. He nails Jey Uso with a brutal clothesline, a senton on the outside, gets him back in the ring, hits him with another senton. He's basically beating the crap out of Jey Uso. And this is where he kind of starts talking to Jey, and he's like, listen, Roman is your family, and Roman is doing this to you. You know, this is not even your fault. I don't even hate you, all that kind of stuff. It was brutal, and you know, Jey Uso does get a super kick in, but Kevin Owens kind of hits him with his own super kick, and he throws him into the announce table. And this was weird though, right? Because they go for break, and after the break, the match just finishes 30 seconds into it.
Yeah, that was definitely weird. Like they're back from break, they're on the turnbuckle, and it looks like Owens wants to hit a superplex, but Jey pushes him off and goes for the splash, but it doesn't work out, and then he just like
they ran out of time
and gets a stunner, and then Kevin Owens wins, and it really felt like, I wouldn't say a squash match because it wasn't, but Kevin Owens was in control for like a very large majority of this match, and then he wins very quickly, almost strangely, right after the commercial, and there's plenty of time left in the show.
Yeah,
and obviously, he wants to call out Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens wants to call out Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns isn't coming. And so Kevin Owens continues his beatdown, right? He's got handcuffs, he handcuffs Jey to the top rope, and he super kicks him a few times. He keeps beating him up. Roman's not coming, so he decides to unhook the handcuff and say, let's go find Roman together. And they're walking backstage, and then before they kind of make it to the back, right near all the screens where the Thunderdome, all the fans are there, a surprise Roman Reigns attack, and then the beatdown continues. But this time, Kevin Owens is taking a massive beatdown because now Jey Uso's back in it, and they double team him. They beat him up. They're on top of the screens. They're like tossing each other into screens, and eventually ends with a bunch of chair shots to Kevin Owens, and then they throw him off of the kind of upper screen area, the rafters kind of area, not that high, of course, into like a huge into like 2 tables, and yeah.
Kevin Owens is always going to put his body on the line. I thought that was really insane. And the one thing I will say about this whole fight is that Kevin Owens is a babyface, but he's not gonna shy away from beating the crap out of someone. And I actually like the fact that he's not this innocent, like goody two shoes face, and he's like, I'm doing this for the fans, blah blah blah. Like, again, he just wants to beat the crap out of Roman Reigns, and he wants to get inside Roman Reigns' head. And I thought it was pretty good, but. And this is where this is a very, very dangerous territory, and I was going to ask your opinion on this. If you see the babyface getting his ass kicked this much, because Kevin Owens is kind of getting the shit out of the stick now, he has to win at some point, right? Like, because if he loses, then he just looks like a chump.
It does feel kind of bad that he's going to get another attempt and most likely lose. It does feel bad. It's almost like let him go and do something else, but at the same time, I guess, I don't know. From a storyline perspective, maybe, but I guess if you're the person and you're still getting a main event match, I guess what does it matter? I don't know. You're right. It would suck because if Kevin Owens loses again and then never becomes the champion, never gets his one up, like,
but where does he go from there? You know what I mean? Like, I lost against Roman Reigns. He may be his B, and that's it. Like, now I want to feud with Corbin. Why? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So.
And it feels worse if like Daniel Bryan wins the Rumble and then just beats Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
But it's very possible that Daniel Bryan wins the Rumble and loses. Like that actually makes a lot of sense. Like he'll win the Rumble to get the win and lose to Roman Reigns. That actually makes plenty of sense. So I don't know.
It could be I have no idea. Like and this is why this is going, like, I'm actually intrigued. Like, are they just feeding Kevin Owens to Roman Reigns one more time because they're biding their time and Daniel Bryan just wins and we forget about Kevin Owens? But then that's crappy because he deserves a lot better than that. So it's so hard. Like, if you ask me, who do you want, like, who would you rather see Roman Reigns face at WrestleMania? Is it going to be Daniel Bryan or Kevin Owens? I would have a really hard time because I will always love Daniel Bryan, but like, I also love Kevin Owens so much, and I think Kevin Owens deserves this. It's hard.
Maybe they do the rare triple threat WrestleMania. Yeah,
but then who wins? You know what I mean?
Roman wins at that point. Like, I would.
No.
Yeah, because Bryan will win the Rumble. Kevin Owens will probably lose another match to Roman Reigns with Jey Uso shenanigans. And what happens when Jimmy Uso shows up? Does he get the same treatment as Jey? Why isn't he back yet? I don't know.
Who knows? But yeah,
it's clear that it definitely a babyface should win the Royal Rumble. It's always more exciting when a babyface wins the Royal Rumble.
Course.
Drew McIntyre is probably going to go in strong with the title at WrestleMania, and they can come up with any way or any reason for a heel to come up and challenge him for the title then, and he could retain that there too, because why wouldn't he? Because he's the best. So
for sure. So that was our recap for SmackDown. SmackDown in a nutshell. Again, as you said, the best episode of the year and possibly the worst. But all joking aside, I thought it was a pretty solid episode. My favorite parts of the episode, to be honest with you, was the whole Kevin Owens promo. With Roman Reigns and Roman Reigns promo. I thought that was a very, very good way of opening up the show. Rudolph were solid throughout the episode. I thought that they made some great points. And my third favorite part was Billie Kay. She's killing it. And let's not forget, again, we barely talked about it, but the return of Sonya Deville, I think it spells a lot of great things for the women's division, and could be possibly my pick for the Royal Rumble winner. But again,
could she win? She totally could, though.
She could. So that's why it's very exciting to see her back, and I'm actually really, really happy to have her back after what she went through last year. So what were your thoughts on SmackDown?
Kind of the same as you. I did definitely compare it to last week and think last week was far better, but this one was still a pretty solid episode. There was a few things that I was like thought was lazy, but overall really good. And my top three were kind of what you said: Kevin Owens, Rudolph making a huge statement, and Billie Kay being Billie Kay.
Look at us, agreeing with each other on all fronts.
It was my New Year's resolution for 2021 to just agree with you. Whatever you say, it doesn't matter.
Perfect. So, and I'm basically just saying that SmackDown is now officially the A show. It's been like a month and a half that SmackDown has been firing on all cylinders, and it truly is the better show at this point.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's the better show, but it has been pretty good.
No Mysterio family.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like,
Rey Mysterio, the ultimate heel. Oh my god.
What a payoff for Murphy. Gets to finally defeat Seth Rollins. Gets to be acknowledged by the Familia, and then gets to be off TV. Poor guy.
God. All right, guys,
That's the real tragedy here.
It is. Okay, so we're gonna sign off on that note. You know, think it over. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning, if you do enjoy our content, please make sure to like the video and subscribe and leave a comment. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Man, you actually made me feel bad about Buddy Murphy now. This is terrible. He hasn't been on TV. he got
just
shipped
Murphy,
to that
by the way. It's just Murphy.
Just Murphy, sorry, yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of just Murphy, because now I made the connection, they were saying Apollo Crews, right? Isn't he just Apollo?
No, it's Apollo Crews. He got his cruise back like a year ago.
Okay, now you see, like I have a hard time keeping track of this.
Do you even watch wrestling?
Who has a last name and who doesn't?